and blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. I'm your co-host, Dawn here, and my beautiful sister, Trish Wright, is my other co-host. For the new viewers, welcome, and for all the time tuning in, we're so grateful for you. Thank you for tuning in. So we have an amazing guest today. Oh, I also wanted to add, if you don't know, we have an amazing YouTube channel. Please go there, like, share, and subscribe. We have tons of shows from the previous 2 years and more, and there's lots of gems in there. So jump in, explore it. We also have a great podcast in case you didn't know. So we're on all the channels. All right, without further ado, we're going to jump in and introduce our beautiful sister here, Cricket. And I'm going to read her amazing little bio here. Harnessing creativity for healing and joy is a simple 3-step process that Cricket has developed through her own experience of healing through creativity. With this process, you will be guided from feeling stuck in your circumstances to processing the emotions to creating a solution from an inspired and empowered place. Yes. Joyfully Cricket is an inspirational singer-songwriter and certified spiritual life coach from Sebastopol, California. Her purpose and mission is to uplift and empower people to express their own unique gifts to create a harmonious world that works for everyone. Cricket began her journey of transformation at the age of 20 when she experienced a personal tragedy. She made the choice to allow this tragedy to propel her into a life of spiritual and personal growth. Wow, amazing. And to make meaning of the loss. Through her grieving, Cricket used songwriting as a way to process her pain. After 15 years of self-healing, using her songwriting and spiritual tools, Cricket started to channel her transformation into her songs and began writing and performing inspirational folk music. Her new style of music carried themes of joy, life purpose, manifestation, and transformation. This new writing style and mission to uplift and inspire people with her music led to her becoming a life coach in 2018. Cricket now blends the gift of her music with her passion for personal and spiritual growth as a spiritual life coach by helping her clients transform their lives and live their joyful purpose. Yes.
Yay!
Yay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. You know, gosh, I really want to just say again, your introduction there is beautiful, and how you came about your gift is really profound. I mean, I know our viewers can really relate with this, having a big loss. This is called the humaning experience. We all experience great loss at some point in our journey here on the earth plane, you know, either a loved one or a tragic experience we go through. You know, it's part of our human existence to experience loss and hold our loved ones when they're experiencing loss. And so how amazing that you transformed your whole experience of that loss into your talent, your gift, the offering you're here. That's so beautiful.
Thank you. It wasn't something that I did consciously, that I knew I was doing in the moment, but now standing where I am and having the tools that I have as a coach, I can recognize now how all of that experience put me on the path to be able to help people and put what I did into words, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was unintentional, but now I can show people how to do it intentionally to
Gorgeous.
heal.
Same with me. Same with my path. Is that, you know, on my path to finding liberation and sovereignty within myself from not only like the conditioned beliefs and my familial belief system, but also the hard traumas that I've experienced. Like, you pick up some skills and some tools and some practices from, you know, throughout the years. And you just kind of like stack. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I have all of these things. Maybe I can help someone get free as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same for my journey as well. You know, I'm in this position of being a spiritual psychology coach because of needing to heal. It was ultimately, that's what led me on the journey, was just my own desire, innate desire to be better and to heal, from the trauma that I had experienced. So yeah, it's beautiful because it's like all these tools came into my sphere and shifted my world, and now I help shift others. So it's like we're all doing that work together. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. And what a demonstration that it just goes to show, like, the gift in the trauma, the gift in the tragedy, that, that I just see that as being the purpose, right? Is that we are able to help others who might be struggling because we've experienced something that could have broken us, but didn't.
Right. And it
You know,
brings
Yes, hope.
Mhm. Go ahead.
I've been thinking about this thing for a while. Here's one of those random things we warned you about. So before the show, you all don't know this, but I'll tell you a little bit about before the show. We like tell our guests that some random questions or things are going to come out of my brain, because that's just how this brain works. And this is one of them. So I've been thinking about this piece around how we're taught to be pleasure seekers. Not that I'm saying that it's not a natural thing to seek pleasure in the body or emotionally, like just as a natural being, but we're also really taught that any feelings outside of happy or excited or vibrant about life are actually wrong and bad, right? And so when we experience traumas, or when we experience things that are painful or hard or scary, or shift us into fight, flight, flee, fawn, that whole system, that we actually don't have the processing tools, right? Like, so socially, we're taught that unless you're this, something's wrong. And what I've been thinking about a lot lately is the idea of what if it wasn't wrong? What if it wasn't wrong or bad? What if it was just the human experience, and if we could be with it? And thinking about, yeah, like, what if I didn't call it trauma? There are 7.8 billion realities on this planet, and everyone's having a very different experience. Like, stubbing your toe could be traumatic for one person. Having an emotionally neglectful parent is one experience for another person, while having too much attention from another parent could be, and I was like, oh my God, what if there wasn't a negative experience? What if it was just like the humaning experience of the human being, this particular one, or you, or you, or you, or me, or whatever, and just playing with taking the judgment out. That's what I sit with a lot. It's like, can I take the judgment out of this experience and be with it? And is there ways to come to emotional, physical, and spiritual regulation?
Mhm. It's everything.
Those are yeah, totally. So I was like, as we're developing and healing through these systems, like taking away the idea that what we experienced was wrong or bad or something negative, that again, we're coming back to that, the trauma piece of like, oh, it's actually there's juice, or there's some benefit there. I say that word for a lack of a better term that's coming to my brain right now, but there's something to that.
I completely resonate with that. I'm a huge follower of Byron Katie, and she takes every experience of reality and calls it a gift, right? She says, when we argue with reality, we suffer, or when we argue with reality, we lose, but only 100% of the time. So a lot of people might call it spiritual bypassing, but for me, I sit in the process that I'll take us all through in a little bit is about really acknowledging the emotions, sitting with them, not bypassing them or ignoring them, but letting them be and recognizing them, but then moving on from it, right? So if you want to hear a little bit about my story, what I experienced when I was 20 was the loss of my husband. He died of a drug overdose. And we were in pretty toxic relationship. We were so young. He was struggling with mental illness and self-medicating with drugs, and I was using with him, and it was just really a mess. Neither of us were equipped to really deal with it in a healthy way. And so we had this horrible cycle of codependency and drug use and all of that. And it ended in him passing away. And I remember the day that he died, it was obviously devastating. And at the same time, I felt the peace that he always said I would feel if he were to die, because he wasn't in pain anymore. I felt um, a renewed faith that there was a purpose and a meaning behind this. And I also felt a glimmer of hope that I had a choice on how I was going to respond to this situation, and that I wasn't going to let it ruin my life. And
Wow.
so part of that was really unintentional on my part. I feel like it was a spiritual awakening for me and a spiritual grace that I was given, to have that knowing. But I was just basically tired of being sad from our shitty relationship and all the pain that we'd inflicted on each other and experienced. That I was just tired of being sad. And I clearly saw two paths before me, one of like continuing down a path of drug use and depression just because I had a really good reason to throw my life away, and then another path, which was to make my life meaningful because he didn't get a chance to.
Wow.
And I chose the latter path, and it didn't happen overnight. But like I said, it was like this lighthouse of hope that I had to like seek joy. I knew that I was going to heal from it. And it was really like my mission to have my life be positive as a result of becoming a widow at 20.
Wow. Powerful.
Yeah. So I really see him, like that experience and that loss of him, as a gift for me. It was the catalyst for my personal spiritual journey. It was the catalyst for so many things in my life that now I get to share with people, that they have a choice in how they respond to life circumstances. You don't have to be a victim. That, like I said, it's only been in the past couple of years that I've been able to articulate it and realize that, oh, my journey actually, my story can help people. We so often take our stories for granted, and what we've experienced and what we've overcome for granted. And I think it's important that we share them and get it out there. And the more that we talk about it, the more we get to process it, and the more it can help other people.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, I really want to praise you for the awareness so young. Like that was such a pivotal moment in your life where you saw two paths, you said, and you actually had the awareness at that time to realize and recognize this is such a golden opportunity. Like you were seeing through the lens of like spiritual eyes in that way towards your life. And that's really profound, because many times you talk to people when they have major tragedy or loss, and they're so caught in the web of, whatever the misidentifications of that or judgments toward themselves or the situation, and it's very intense to to really learn to like peel back the layers of what the opportunity is and see the opportunity within it, whatever it may be. And so I just really acknowledge you. That is such a profound gift in that time. You were able to just be aware and awake to choose, like, this is the direction I choose my life to go. And this is how I will respond. Even amidst of still your heart aching and hurting, right?
Absolutely. And thank you. And I just want to reiterate, it wasn't like an instantaneous thing, right?
No.
But it was like a goalpost I had. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna process this. I'm gonna be in the grief, but that is available to me in the future, and I'm gonna work towards that as long as it takes.
Mm, beautiful.
I love that. So I love this. This is so juicy. Thank you for sharing your story, and to iterate how important it is to share your story and where you've gone and where you've been. And the distinction that I heard between bypassing and actually processing it is this piece. It's like, yes, it might not feel like a gift in the moment, like at all. It might not feel like a gift at all. When my dad died, I did not feel like a gift, right? And the choosing to process it is the gift. Oh, it's all good, just feel good, just go distract, go like that, the distraction, or the it's all good, or what are the other bypassy things? Just think positively, or those types of things. Like that's bypassing, right? Not processing it, or not dealing with it, or not actually looking at the piece that's under it. Like, why are you grieving? Why are you angry? Why is this coming up? Why are you sad? And actually getting to the core belief system around it, and how you think, feel about the entire world, and about, yourself, and how you're moving through it. Like that's the piece of the shadow work that we're talking about. That's actually processing it and seeing the gift in doing the work. Like the gift is doing the work, the gift is processing it. And that's so crucial of a distinction, because I think that, I know the three of us roll around in some spiritual communities, and it can be really heavy in the bypassiness of, like, people are uncomfortable with uncomfortable feelings, and oftentimes they just won't, or I'll speak as a global, like sometimes we will not choose to dive into the discomfort. But when you do, the magic on the other side of that, or the amazing gift on the other side of that, is and is the alignment with your true self, is the alignment with your inner integrity. If you don't want to, if you're not getting juiced, like, so here's like the piece. If you're not getting juiced by something, like juiced up, like excited, and you're doing things out of obligation all the time because of the programming, or the things that you think, like, that's the piece where it gets all fishy. So when you get to, like, look into that, when you get to dive into the deeper work and ask, that's really where the gift is, right? So I love that you're sharing about the distinction between a bypass and looking at it as a gift. You don't have to look at it as a gift in the moment. Like, it's not going, you're probably not going to be like, this is a gift. Oh, great. Thanks, Dad.
Right.
Like, thanks for leaving the planet. It's not going to look like that. It's going to come retroactively. The choosing self is the gift. And Rand.
I think that the most important factor here is what happens when a big occurrence occurs, like your dad dying, or your boyfriend or your husband dying at the time, or my dad dying. We've all experienced great loss, right? Or the loss of a job, and how that, think about all the people during the pandemic that had that experience, right? And so what happens is, right away you have an opportunity, and the first law in spirit is acceptance, right? And that will open the gateway and the doorway to allowing the real emotions that are really the root of what's going on. And if you just move into acceptance, doesn't mean you have to like it, doesn't mean you have to say, this is great, I'm going to live here forever. You don't have to have that energy about it. But if you just put your hand on your heart and choose to move into a place of, this is for me. And I know that is so wild, right? That is such a wild concept. But when I started living my life from that place, that no matter what it is, it could be crunchy, hard, difficult, cat pooping on the floor, whatever it may be, that this is for me, right? And it's such a new perspective. Well, for me, when I learned it, it was very new, and yet it's a game changer. And that really opens the door to the first law in spirit, is acceptance, and really moves you into that place of, like, okay, if I can just be with this, what's here for me?
I think that's interesting, because you're making me realize that I had 100% acceptance when Sean was my husband's name, when Sean died, because he had really set me up, because he didn't want to be here. He really didn't. He was really reckless. It wasn't intentional, but his overdose. But he would say things to me like, won't you be happy knowing I'm at peace and I can get out of this body and all that? And of course, I'm like, no, what are you, crazy? And then he passed away. And I was like, wow, I had no, like, this shouldn't have happened. I had no thoughts like that. I was just completely like, this is what happened, and this is clearly what was meant to happen, because somehow this makes sense. And what was happening when he was alive wasn't making sense. It was so chaotic and so messy. And so again, I feel like that was like a grace that was given to me as a gift, either from him, from beyond, or from spirit. But I didn't have those, this shouldn't have happened, I can't accept this. I just instantly was like, okay, like this is, I can't change this. So what are we going to do next?
Yes, beautiful.
That's called choosing life. This is called, like, the things that Dawn and is it joyfully or cricket or joyfully cricket, do I say? Okay, it's what Dawn and cricket are saying, is that it's when you choose life. Zuza, my teacher Zuza, she is always like, can you lean in? I'm doing a program called Moving with Life, and you're constantly dancing with the experiences of life. There's a lot of stuff that we might be manifesting, but there's a lot of stuff that just happens, and you're like, we can resent it, or we can push back, or you can lean in and be like, okay, this is it. How can I lovingly accept this place right here? How can I accept it? And I think in there's a lot of things that I think about the place where we're not accepting. Like, and I'd love to go into a conversation there about how do we get to that accepting place? Like, again, we're coming back from this idea that if I just work hard enough, all the things will be good. I'll ride off into the sunset with my knight in shining armor, and it'll all just be happy and go lucky all the time. Like this is the idea that we're fed for a long time. And when it's not that, the disillusionment happens, which is on top of trying to deal with the whatever is happening. So how do we find contentment, and how do we choose our life? How do we choose what is happening and actually lean into the discomfort?
Yeah, I think like what Dawn was saying, asking that question, like, how is this for me? What is it, the gift in this? And again, it's not like you were saying, Trish, like it's not necessarily in that moment, but just nurturing that concept, or nurturing that, what I would describe as like a growth mindset. Just having that as a practice, I think really helps us be in that flow with life and not pushing against it.
Absolutely. I mean, you've heard me say this on the Self-Love Show many, many times, but I'm going to say it again. How we relate to the issue is the issue. It's a spiritual psychology foundational principle from Ron and Mary Holmick. And it has so served me in times of just putting my hand on my heart and saying how I relate to the issue is the issue. It gives me a break from the egoic mind wanting to control or consume or keep you distracted from the truth of what's going on. And because the ego will always seek, comfort, security, and control. So it doesn't want to ever be made to look wrong or bad. And so it will do everything to distract you from the spiritual path you're meant to go on. And so that alone helps just the break from the ego's misidentifications that can go on for whatever the circumstances are, because outer reflection is a reflection of inner world reality. And so it's a combination of the what's going on the outside is a reflection for you to explore about your inside, and explore, how am I seeing this, holding it, feeling it, sensing it? What am I thinking about myself? How I relate to this is the issue.
I love that. That's
gold.
Powerful.
It's so gold. And so, like, this is such a simple practice, and I just encourage all our viewers to really adopt it, because it can change your life. It is a game changer. When you don't feel in alignment, stop and listen. Like, put a hold on everything that you need to think you need to do, and listen to your body, your emotions, your feelings, what's going on. Like, slow down to pay attention, and then you're going to get it. You're going to get a download from spirit around what the material is really showing you, because it's your curriculum.
Love that.
Earth school curriculum.
The slowing down piece, you know, oh God, I'm so glad we're here.
Oh, yeah.
There's this piece around who else, whether you're listening live, watching live, or listening, but just think about it. Like, who else does the, oh my gosh, things are crunchy, I have to move faster and push harder? And if you raised your hand in your mind right now, this is what Dawn said, was slow down and stop. And that's the practice that I've actually been practicing recently, of like, I feel pressure, I feel like anxious, and I need to do things. And I was like, no, I'm just not going to. Like, I'm going to do the other thing. I'm just going to try it out of sheer experimental curiosity. And it is exactly that. Again, if you didn't hear it, go back to what Dawn said. But if you go, like, it's really finding that when you slow down, what you can now hear is your inner truth, is the most self-honoring choice that you can make, is the place where you can live not only for self, for benefit, and for benefit of others. Like, but until you do that, like, your brain needs the rest, your body needs the rest. You've got to self-source from a more regulated nervous system. You have to, like, making those choices from a more regulated nervous system is actually really crucial to making healthier choices for you, or to lean into what is alive, what is real, and what's now in this life.
That's
That was
so
not very,
interesting. And it reminds me of, I was working with a client earlier this week, and she has a passion for writing, but like so many of us, she's not making time for her creative outlet, because there's no time. There's the to-do list, there's the busyness, and I've experienced that also. Like, slowing down or making that space actually opens us up to the muses to speak to us in the most surprising ways. But if we're rushing from one thing to the next and so busy, like, it's just not, we're just going to bypass it, and it's not going to show up as easily for us.
Mhm.
And so it seems so counterintuitive sometimes, or even when I'm working on a song, I'm trying to come up with a verse and it's not coming and I'm feeling really stuck. If I just walk away and go do the dishes, like, it almost comes through like immediately. It's just like switching from that like left brain, like linear intentional thinking, to the right brain, kind of more intuitive side, the more playful side, like just letting it kind of go, and not have such like control around it or rigidity. I think that's when spirit can really flow through us. Otherwise, we're just trying to control it too much.
Mhm. Beautiful. I agree with
Yeah.
you. I've had, lots of practices in my years, and I've, been a writer. I understand what that's like to, like, be in the writing flow and then to not. And, what can you do? So you're so right on the money to say, switch it up, right? Go do the dishes, like, go take a shower. I swear, like, the shower is medicine. Anytime I, like, need a break and go shower, it's just like the downloads come.
Are you a water sign?
No.
It's definitely, there's something about the water though, just carrying. It's just like so cleansing and getting us grounded.
Yeah.
Mhm.
the
Nope, not a
nervous system. So I don't know the exact scientific approach to this, and I can find it, but there is like the water hitting, which is different than a bathtub. The water hitting your skin is a nervous system kind of like overload, and the heat with it, like, there's something about how it interacts with the body that actually sends your nervous system into a more regulation. And that's why it is really helpful to step into the shower, or to change location, is to change the location of the brain. I love mind hacks. I'm also a shower aha-er.
Nice.
I call them profound shower moments.
That sounds like a coffee table book. I love it.
I love that.
But one of the going back to not bypassing, one of the things from my experience after my husband passed was, so I was always I've always been a musician, but I've really struggled with my creative process and being intentional about it. I said for years, like, I only write when I'm depressed and I can only write sad songs. And it made it really challenging to be prolific because it was like something that just happened on accident. But what happened after my husband passed was I had a lot of time by myself, and I just started picking up my guitar and I just started writing about what I was feeling, what I would say to him if I saw him again, like what I would say to his family with all the just complexity of what we were going through. And I ended up just probably writing a dozen songs in over a few months, which I'd never experienced before. And they were the most tragic, sad songs that I was bawling as I was writing them. But, as I sang them more and I started performing them, it was like I was able to process my grief. And I didn't know that. I didn't have the language to describe what was happening until now, but I was sitting with the emotions. I wasn't shying away from them. I wasn't running away. I wasn't denying them. I was just in full acceptance and full, like, I was just in it,
Yes.
like, just experiencing it. And I recognize, me losing my husband was a very different experience than, his family losing him. So and everyone processes grief differently. But for me, what really helped me process it was talking about it, sharing what I was experiencing, being in the emotions. And some people aren't ready for that, for many years after. So I want to honor everyone's own timeline on that.
Mhm.
But the process I'm going to take everyone through a little bit later is how to, if you're ready for it, how to take something that you're experiencing that may be painful and intentionally sit with it and process it, and start to focus on what you want to manifest instead.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
beautiful.
I'm
I think it's time.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so if you are listening to this and you're able to grab a pen and paper, I invite you to do so now. Um, so this again is just a process that it's gone from, talks into workshops into just something that I realized reflecting back on how I experienced the healing of losing my husband and using my songwriting as a way to process my grief. And so I want you to go ahead and just think about something right now that is painful. And you might not want to pick the biggest thing that you're going through. You might want to start with something a little bit smaller, and it could be something that you're experiencing personally, or it could be something that you are experiencing globally, collectively in the world. There's plenty of triggers out there that we're all being subjected to. So just choose something that is up for you right now that you feel willing to dive into. And so the first step, there's 3 steps. The first one is to name it. So what I want you to do is just write, number 1, name it, and then just acknowledge the emotion that you're experiencing or the situation. So it could be grief, it could be loneliness, it could be, the loss of a job. I'll use for an example, polluted oceans. So just write down what it is that is painful, the painful thing that you're experiencing right now. And so the important thing about acknowledging the experience or the situation by naming it, we're really taking away its power. For years, I didn't want to focus. Once I learned about the law of attraction, I didn't want to focus on things that I didn't want to manifest. And so, because I thought that if I did, I would attract more of it into my life. But it's actually the opposite. So, what happens when we acknowledge something, we actually are taking away its power. Because by resisting, you've probably heard what we resist persists. And so you're actually giving it more energy by using your energy to fight against it. So you take away its power by acknowledging it. And when you're just positive thinking and not acknowledging it, as we were saying before, that's just giving more fuel to the fire. So once you can acknowledge it, that's when you can really integrate it into your whole being for your next up level, for your spiritual growth, for your next step on your journey. I always say that your life purpose is not meant to be easy. It's meant to grow you into the next version of yourself. And so we can really say that's true for whatever circumstance or situation you're experiencing that is painful. Once you're able to acknowledge it and heal it, you can integrate it for that next up level. So, also just recognizing that any emotion, including the ones that may be painful, are just a signal. So that they're just kind of like a flag to say, hello, there's something to inquire here, something to go deeper, something to explore. And often the painful emotions, like fear, self doubt, or worry, they're really here to serve and protect us in some way. And what I've found is that typically they're trying to protect us, so that we stay safe, so that we stay in our comfort zone. Our brain's job is to keep us safe, um, and to kind of keep things as simple as possible. When we are stretching ourselves into something greater than what we were previously, that is not safety. That is like the whole like being out on the ledge, and our brain doesn't like that. So those negative emotions are totally normal. Your brain is just doing its job. But I've found, in my personal growth work, that it becomes my job to say, "Okay, brain, thanks for doing your work. I'm going to take a look here, at how these emotions might be serving me, and I'm going to choose to, keep doing what I'm doing in spite of them." So it's normal to have them, but I would encourage you to not let them stop you from pursuing your goals. Okay, so we've got um, the step number one. So you've written the title of it, we'll call it. And now I just want you to do like a thought download. Any thought that comes to you around that emotion, put it on the paper. It could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be a statement. It doesn't have to make sense. Just take a minute or so to just write down any thought that comes to you around this situation that you're experiencing. So I'll give you a minute to do that now. So I just want to say, as you're finishing up what you're writing, like this is the opportunity to be really brave, because again, your brain is probably telling you that you don't want to look at these things, you don't want to have these thoughts, you don't want to have these feelings about this circumstance or situation. But just know that this is a safe space, and just having the courage to acknowledge it, this is where the healing really gets to happen. And as Trish was saying earlier, this is the gift. So I just want to honor you for being willing to dive into whatever you're experiencing right now. And this is a process, a thought download or a brain dump is something that you can use anytime you are feeling out of alignment or feeling stuck or feeling some kind of icky emotion. Just write the situation at the top of the page and just write all your thoughts down about it. It's a great way to just unload the emotions, and really putting your thoughts on paper gives you a chance to inquire about them, and really identify if they're true or not, or if you're just, believing shitty thoughts, which I am so guilty of. We all are. Okay, so if you want to revisit that later, I invite you to take more time with it if you need to. We're going to move on to the second step, which is to flip it. So, step number two is really just imagining what you would like to experience instead. So, this is really shifting to solutions. So, it's one thing to acknowledge what you've experienced, but it's another thing to just live there and be a victim to it. So, remember, you always have a choice in how you are going to respond. And so right now, we're just really playing with this. It's not anything you have to take action on. You really get to use your imagination and just dream big about what you would rather experience. Doesn't mean that, if I'm writing about my husband passing away, that he's going to come back. But maybe I do want to write about what we would do together if he was back for a day, or what I would do differently if I had that time with him again before he passed. Whatever the situation is, just use your imagination to go ahead and take a minute or so to write about what you would rather experience. So, going back to the example of polluted oceans, I might say that I'm envisioning crystal clear water with vibrant and thriving coral reefs and plants and animals in the ocean that just are thriving. So, this is also an opportunity to maybe look for silver linings, the gifts, the lessons, um, any gratitude you might want to express for the situation itself. Um, and then for this, you want to, yeah, just use as much detail as possible. I love using my five senses. That's a great way to get into some specific descriptions. And just remember to not hold back. Don't let this space time reality be a limitation. Just use your imagination. Um, it's limitless. So I'll give you another 30 seconds or so to just write what you would rather experience. Okay. And again, if you want to take more time with this later, you can revisit and do some more writing. But we're going to move on to step number 3, which is one of my favorite pieces, the created piece. So this is something that you can do on your own time, but maybe you want to write down some ideas that you might have. So I love doing creative play for the sake of just playing. I think that's really important. As a songwriter, I can often get really rigid um, with my writing because I think it has to be good because I have to perform it or record it. But I try to make space or make it a practice to do creative expression just for the sake of creating without any judgment or critique or the stress of thinking that anybody's going to have to hear it or judge it. So with your creation, I recommend that you take the first step of naming it and the second step of flipping it, and then now channeling that into some creativity with intention. So you can either use your creative play as a way to sit a little bit deeper in the situation itself. You could use the creative play as a way to sit in the second step a little bit deeper, what you'd rather experience, or you can blend the two together and see what that might look like. I also want to point out that you may not consider yourself an artist or a creative person, but we are all inherently creative just by living and breathing. You are expressing creativity because you are a child of life, and life is creative by default. So we all have creativity in us, whether it is, being a writer or a painter or a mother or a carpenter or a baker or someone who's really good at math and problem solving. Those are all creative muscles that we use to do those things. So don't think that you have to have like a typical artistry, like music, writing, or painting, something like that, to be creative. Just use um, whatever you want to play with. Um, so one thing that I'll give you a prompt on how you can do this before I play you all a song. But I love doing writing prompts where you just start with a sentence. So this is really easy to do. Again, you don't have to have any writing experience at all. And I love this process because it really taps into the subconscious mind. It's a way to get intuitive messages from your higher self or from source. So you'll just start with a sentence like, I am inspired when. And you'll just set a timer for 3 minutes, and just any thought that pops into your head after the sentence, I am inspired when, just keep writing for 3 minutes. If you get stuck or you start overthinking it or you draw a blank, you just write the prompt again, I am inspired when, and just see what comes out on the page. After the 3 minutes, I like to go back through and circle any phrases that I liked, any words, anything else that kind of sticks out to me that I might want to use intentionally. And then I'll take those things and either do the prompt again with one of the phrases that I liked. I'll make that the new prompt. Or I'll take those words and phrases that I circled and I'll use those to write a poem or write a song or a story, or take those words as inspiration to do a collage or a painting. So again, the more that we use our playful creative side, the more we are in that right brain of intuition. I think that's where spirit lives personally. And so it's a lot easier to process our emotions in a creative way as opposed to in a left brain linear way. So I invite all of you to dive into your creativity for your healing. Use this process and don't skip the third step. Go take everything that you wrote from the steps 1 and 2 and channel that into some kind of creative expression. Again, it can be, making a meal for your family with the intention of whatever it is that you'd rather experience, just having that, as your prayer on your fingertips as you're making the meal. And then maybe sharing that at the dinner table with your family, what you'd rather see instead. Let them go around and say what they'd like to see in the world instead of what they're experiencing. So I think I'll close with a song if that works. And I often use songwriting for my own personal growth and healing. As I was sharing before, I used it to heal through my grieving process. And then that eventually transformed into me writing songs based on my transformational journey, my passion for spirituality and personal growth. But this is a song that I wrote around not spiritually bypassing, around being in the pain and seeing the gift in it. It's called Magic in the Tears. So you can see my guitar. I am okay. I am not afraid. There is light behind every shadow. There is love beyond the fear. And there is beauty in the sorrow and magic in the tears. I am brave. I am on my way. 'Cause there is light behind every shadow, and there is love beyond the fear, and there is beauty in the sorrow and magic in the tears. There is light behind every shadow. There is love beyond the fear. There is beauty in the sorrow and magic in the tears. I am okay.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope everybody gets out there and creates something from their pain. It's really, really transformative. Oh, Trish, you're on mute.
You did.
Oh, it's because I'm running on 2 devices today. So I'm oh, so silly. Pain is such a how about hold on. I'm just gonna walk it back for a second. The intensity of the sensation of this type of discomfort has been incredibly beneficial for me to look into. It's helped me look at my belief systems. It's helped me look at what I long for. It's helped me hold a deeper amount of love. So when I'm in heartbreak, it's the deeper longing for the depth of the connection that I seek in with people. When I'm in, like grief for something that I've lost, it's just really knowing how much I want to give, right? How much more I want to open my heart. The pain of doing something wrong or like out of alignment or out of my integrity. Wrong. I'm going to remove that, but cancel clear. But the pain of being out of integrity with my heart and my words and my actions and my thoughts, like that tells me where to find alignment. And it's only through the discomfort and the intensity of it, and sometimes is the way that I can actually step into it. Otherwise, I'm doing the human thing, and it might not be loud enough for me to hear. And like even in depressive states, or even in really angry spaces, or even in like these very human experiences, is like what is the foundation under that? What is the longing that's desperate to get met? So I'm not saying I love pain, but I don't hate it. I accept it.
Well, and I just want to acknowledge both of you and all of your viewers that are willing to do this work, because it's so easy to be on default and not want to look at this stuff. I mean, I've been guilty of it. There's still plenty of shadow work I haven't done, I'm sure. But being willing to dive in and look at some things in that discomfort is, I think, a miracle act. And so I want to honor all of your viewers for being willing to be on the growth journey and to answer the call, because it's not easy, but it's so worth it. So worth it.
I share that sentiment. It is absolutely worth it. You don't see the fruits of the labor until like later on, but it is such a gift you can give yourself. And it's not comfortable. Like, I'm going to reiterate that it is not comfortable to feel the pain and the sorrow, the anguish, whatever the feelings are. It sucks in the moment, but but it's such a portal and a gateway if you give yourself full permission to go there.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need to say is, I give myself permission to feel this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I have a thought I'm adopting, that is, I am the person who is willing to feel all the emotions.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Offerings are so exquisite. I just appreciate you so much and all the work you've poured into yourself. You can see that you have this glow about you. It's beautiful. And it's just, I felt this when I met you from the first moment I met. I was like, you're wonderful, like immediately. We met at a women's gathering. So I was like, yeah, we got to be friends. We got to be in each other's world. So here we are. You get to be on the show and share your gift. And that's such a shining example of what it's like to just stay with your curriculum. And eventually you get to the other side of the mountain. You're like, oh my God, look at how far I've come.
Mm.
Look at what I can offer now. And you didn't see that in the beginning when you were just starting your journey. You didn't know what that was. And so that's the magic of how God works in our life, and like the miracles that take place through the tragedies that come. And not that we're ever welcoming them, but when they do arrive in our life, it's a portal and an opportunity. And you harnessed it with so much joy and grace. And look at you. And I know that you make impact in beautiful lives, in so many beautiful lives. And I'm so excited for the gift of you and the journey that you're on, and your Burning Man experience about to come. Like, yay.
Thank you so much. It was such an honor to share this with you and all of your viewers, and I just look forward to connecting more in the future.
Me too. Yay.
So if you want to find more about Joyfully Cricket, find her at joyfulprocesscoaching.com and reach out.
Joyfulpurposecoaching.com. Yeah.
Oh,
You spelled it right in the chat.
yes.
Yeah.
Joyful Purpose Coaching. That is joyfulpurposecoaching.com. Thank you both for your time, your energy, your life force, and all that it took to get here today. Thank you all who are listening here live and on YouTube, as well as all the podcast channels, including Apple Podcast and Spotify. I really want to say a special thank you to KPFZ, who's now running us out on the radio. We're on the radio. I know, surprise. As well as Sign Network, Love Coach Academy, Global Peace Tribe, and always Scott Katamas for his deep love and sweet holding in the world. So thank you all very much for your time and your energy, and we'll see you next week.
Yes. Have a great week.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.